Now, I want to get a prediction of See, I Told You So out of the way. I want to take you back to this program. This is June 20th of 2013. And this is when they were unrolling the exchanges, or rolling out the Obamacare exchanges. And we had learned who had been granted all the money to run Covered California. The NAACP, a bunch of unions, basically a bunch of left-wing activists. And I read an excerpt from a column by Betsy McCoy about this, and I pointed out that what this really was going to be, in addition to whatever it was doing with health care, that this was a massive Democrat voter registration drive, and that the Obamacare exchange in practically every state would also double as serving to register voters. This is what I said June 20th, 2013. It's about 9 months ago. Now, the Investor's Business Daily editorial written by Betsy McCoy details what the healthcare exchanges in Obamacare really are about. And she focuses on California because they're getting $910 million to set up the exchanges in California. It turns out these exchanges are just being used for Democrat Party outreach. The NAACP is getting $600,000 from the California exchange. The AFL-CIO is getting $1 million. The Service Employees International Union is getting $2 million. And for what? To go door to door, to register voters, to show up at community centers and make presentations on the Democrat Party and sell the Democrat Party agenda. And that was this program on June 20th of 2013. I have a story from McClatchy News that was published just today. The headline, California to send voter registration cards to Obamacare applicants. Hot damn, do I know these people or do I know these people? Heading off a lawsuit over compliance with a federal voting rights law, California officials have agreed to help millions of state residents register to vote. Isn't it a beautiful thing? Under a deal announced Monday by several voting rights groups, the state will send voter registration cards to nearly 3.8 million Californians who have applied for health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. Voila! And here we have further evidence of the complete politicization of Obamacare and what its real purpose is. As the writer here from McClatchy News says, the move will ensure that many residents can complete or update their registration in time for the June 3rd primary election and bring the state into compliance with the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. The law requires that certain state offices provide clients with registration opportunities. The law requires that certain state office. So there is just another illustration of being on a cutting-edge societal evolution. You knew 9 months before it happened what was going to happen if you listened to this program and if you had the courage to believe the truth. Sometimes it takes courage to believe the truth because the truth seems to be so against the grain of what the norm and conventional wisdom appears to be. It's like, give you another example. It might have been last week. It might have been 1 week ago today. I forget which. And I was sitting here minding my own business, bothering nobody. I was doing show prep. And I happened, a corner of my eye, I saw a videotape of me in the Ditto Cam up on Fox News. So I said, So I hit the audio button. It turned on the volume. I turned up the potentiometer. And I heard the info babe, Martha McCallum, promoting an upcoming segment, which they were going to ask guests to respond to my assertion that the coverage of the crash of the Malaysian airliner had gone just wacko overboard. And my concern that was the simplest explanation is going to end up being the explanation, and because there's been so much craziness that people aren't going to believe it. Well, that begot others playing that videotape of me saying that all over Fox later that night on O'Baxter's show. and elsewhere. And it's just, folks, it's just an innate ability that I have to predict these things and what's going to happen. Now, you can't believe the number of people say, I told you I was the first. I told you that the media coverage was outraged. I told you it was going to be over the top. I was the first, right? And they get their guests sitting with them to say, yep, you called it, my man. You were right. Jon Stewart, who has a staff of 30 writers, 30 producers, a closet full of Emmys, said on his program last night stuff that you heard on this program 2 weeks ago. Don't misunderstand. This is not sour grapes. It's just that, and I get this. People say, Rush, you don't toot your own horn enough, and I don't, specifically, purposely. But in this one, it really, when I made that claim that the media coverage over, it kind of opened the floodgates and everybody joined us. Like everybody thought it. Everybody thought the media coverage of this plane crash was just over the top in black holes and conspiracy theories, and the plane had been hijacked and hollowed out for a giant nuclear weapon to be put in there. I think everybody thought it was over the top, but nobody said so until El Rushbo, came along. I probably wasn't the first to think it, but I was the first to articulate it. And the same thing here, knowing what's going to happen with these Obamacare exchanges. They're nothing more than Democrat voter outreach. That's another reason why, folks, there really isn't a whole lot of concern at the regime on how many people are signing up, because they don't think anybody's going to be able to unwind this anyway. I mean, the truth of the matter is that no matter how few people have signed up, no matter how few people have enrolled, and no matter how many they can prove, no matter how many people have paid, and even what the demographic breakout of the people have paid, the people at the regime are confident that nobody's going to be able to roll it back, repeal it, defund it, any of that. They're sitting there confident that the Republicans aren't going to roll it back, that they don't have the guts or the political will to do it. And when Ted Cruz and Mike Lee were trying to get everybody focused on a couple of votes in the Senate 2 or 3 months ago that would lead to being it defunded or repealed, of course, they were destroyed by members of their own party. So the regime is sitting there thinking that nothing's going to happen to this. And the longer it is in play, the deeper the tentacles of Obamacare sink throughout the bowels of our society. And the more any entitlement settles in, the greater the dependence on it, and then the greater the impossibility or difficulty of repealing it. So the regime is saying, we don't care. They got a second purpose here going on. That's Democrat voter registration and outreach. It doesn't really matter. Because what's the ultimate aim anyway is to get rid of all these exchanges, essentially, and to get rid of private sector insurance and to send everybody to Medicare or some other form of single payer.